Sailing Beyond New Horizons by Paul McCann, a short story. It was a quiet evening when he walked into the bar in Sailor's Town. He looked lost and he sat down at the bar. The barman walked over and the stranger said, "Hey bartender, give me an Irish in a large glass." "Aye, you're not from around here. Have you jumped ship then?" asked the barman. "No, I turned right instead of left 15 years ago and took a cut against the wind blown by the devil himself," replied the stranger. The barman poured whiskey and left the stranger alone. And as he did, the stranger poured the whiskey down his throat and tapped the glass for a refill. The barman obliged, and then he turned his back and left him with his glass. He monitored to the clientele in the bar that he had a cuckoo sitting there at the bar. Most of the patrons moved to the other side of the bar, except for one, an old sailor, who was dressed in a donkey jacket and was wearing a cap with a star on it. He went over and he joined the stranger at the bar, and he ordered a bottle of whiskey and another glass. The barman interrupted and he said, "It's closing time." The old sailor, he produced a blue stone from his donkey jacket, and the stone began to glow and flash, and lightning went out from it, and it held everyone in a trance. The old sailor held the stone up in the air. Everyone's eyes were fixed on it, and no sound or movement was heard or seen in the bar. It was almost like time itself had stopped. The old sailor softly spoke. "Oh, only ghosts of time can say when it closes." As the blue stone continued to glow stronger in the bar, everything and everyone was frozen still, except for the sailor and the stranger. "You said 15 years ago you took a wrong turn. You know, I'm a man of the sea, who has seen and heard much, my friend. Go on, tell me more." And the sailor poured a large measure of whiskey into the stranger's empty glass. "Aye, well, about 15 years ago, I applied for a job on the docks with a cargo ship. And as I remember now, it was October when we sailed out from the bay. A mile out to sea, and I was thinking of home and thinking about jumping ship at the next port, and still looking forward, though, to seeing my wife and 4 sons again. I was a bit confused then, under the effects of a fever, and kind of semi-conscious. I saw things through a haze." The sailor put away the stone, and everyone in the bar was in a trance. "Have another drink," said the sailor, who took off his cap, and the stranger took a drink, and the sailor refilled it. The star on the sailor's cap started to shine. "So, tell me about the voyage," said the sailor. The stranger began to speak easy and free. "I awoke as this wind roared like a lion across the port side. It cut like scissors through the sails of the ship. I looked into the sea and heard and saw what looked like sea dogs coming up for air. Deep down under the waves, I saw the sun rise up, and the wind roared louder and louder, and up ahead I saw what I thought was the devil's mouth that opened wide and looked like we were going to be devoured, all of us in the ship. But then I saw what I can only describe to be a gap open up somewhere between the devil and the deep blue sea, and the ship fell into this hole, and we were kind of in another world, empty of humanity. Some of the faint-hearted sailors jumped off the ship. Maybe I should have too, but I stayed on board like the rest of other fools." The old sailor said, Mr. Swallow. It will help you spit it out. The sailor placed his cap on the stranger's head, and as the star continued to shine, it was like years passed on the ship. We all stood like statues. We couldn't move, we couldn't talk, we were all terrified with fear. Our eyes, deep and intense, looked at this strange world around us. Weird it was, a weird world, man, said the sailor. A few new customers walked into the bar and came and sat down in the company. This new company all wore caps with stars. One of them took out a redstone that shot a bright light around the entire room. He looked deeply into the stranger's face, and he said, "Yes, my son, it's time to go. We're here to bring you home in our ship." "Take me home," said the stranger. "Yeah, back through the void where you fell." The man with the red stone said, and the stranger was stunned and replied, "Home to my wife and family?" "Yeah, our ship's waiting in the bay." They all rose from their seats at the bar. As if in a trance, the stranger said, Right then, let's go then, and sail out to sea. Find a place where the sun hides. I want to feel the winds beyond the horizon." "In our ship," said the sailors with the star caps. Yeah, in our ship," came the reply. "We'll be fine sailors dancing on the sea," said one and all. They made their way in and out of the streets to the waterfront, and then through the sailors' town they went, and down to the low dock, where the tall ship was waiting. It was indeed a tall ship, and one that any captain and crew would be proud to sail in. The ship seemed to touch the sky. A crew of strange-looking beings greeted the men with star caps. "Now we have your man, him himself, who will be born again. Let us find the fine winds." The stranger was deeply entranced, as if he was gripped by a fever, and placed then into a hammock. On the deck he lay still for a moment, until a sea surge underneath the ship rose up the ship about 6 feet into the air. The captain appeared on deck. His face shone like bright diamonds in the sun, and he pointed his telescope to the sky, and he said, "Time to set sail." It wasn't long before 2 huge wings shot out from the ship, and everything started to happen. 3 engines started to roar. 4 more wings appeared, with a bubble-shaped roof closing in over the entire ship. And with a bright flash and a loud blast, the ship lifted off from the bay and exploded like a rocket into the sky. Propelled further and further beyond the earth, the ship made its voyage beyond the galaxy's glow. On to the blackness of space the ship sped, alone in the ocean of stars, like a speck of light in the universe. Planets and comets spanned the way ahead as the spaceship headed for what seemed to be a pillar of light in the distance. The ship began to increase speed, and the engine's noise got stronger. Soon the ship became hot like a fire, and it started to twist around and around, tossing and turning into a pillar of light. The vastness of space seemed to be running away from the ship. Space was falling away from the ship, and shortly after the roof came off and the wings folded in. The engine noise cut, and again the riggings and the mast of a sailing ship appeared, as the tall ship fell from the sky into an ocean aglow with strange blue light. The ship continued to sail across the shimmering ocean that was full of wonder, like a parallel world. Many other life forms appeared. Strange creatures with orange skin flew in the sky. On the rocky islands, skeleton-like beings walked around on their feet that were shaped like webs, and they had constructed igloos from rocks. They seemed harmless. A green lizard-like tribe of people lived there in huge dome-shaped cities that floated and hovered above the water. As well as the futuristic sailing vessels, there were some others that were very old. Swimming in the ocean were many weird and wonderful things. Now and then, from underneath this deep ocean, mermaids would arise and talk about their sunken kingdoms with secret treasures unseen by anyone. Here and there, whales and dolphins appeared. Enormous jellyfish and octopuses were often seen. Suddenly a wind took the sails and a storm surrounded the ship. It was as if time itself was being sucked through a porthole, or the universe was drawing through an open window. Waves like mountains arose and tossed the ship like a toy towards it. The hole in the storm was getting larger and larger, and what seemed to resemble the mouth of the devil himself appeared in front of the ship. Sailing inside, there was a violent storm that ripped the engines and the sails and the ship into shreds. After passing through the storm, the tall ship was re-emerging, making its way toward an island. There was a light that spread over the ship, and inside the bright light a soft voice spoke. "Be at peace and do not fear. You have returned home. You will not remember the voyage," the voice said. When the light faded, there were 5 figures standing on the shore. A woman and 4 young men waited there and began to wave as the ship made an approach. A small lifeboat was sent out with a few sailors and the stranger who was so happy to see his family again. The captain and the crew waved goodbye to the small family of humans, who embraced one another on the shore. The woman threw her arms around the man and said, "Welcome home, darling. We got a letter from the merchant supplier who told us you'd be coming home today. They have sent you on your pay for the past 15 years. We are so proud of you. And now we can pay off the house and build another one." "Wow, Dad, that's a cool cap. Where'd you get it?" one of the boys said. The cap had a gold star and the word Space Cadet written on it. I got it from one of the ports, son," he replied. Then he looked at his wife and said, "I'm so happy to be back. This is where I want to be. I don't ever want to return to sea ever again." The end.